this excellent State Department report that just dropped, which is really good. I linked it below. This is the first time I've seen a public, official acknowledgement of what we've been talking about the entire time.
Yep.
This is the proof is in the pudding, like it's stamped and approved here, right?
Yeah.
This is the Global Engagement Center special report, and it's how the PRC in China seeks to reshape the global information environment. And I'll quote here, the People's Republic of China spends billions of dollars annually on foreign information manipulation efforts. And that's something we've been saying nonstop through things like 讲好中国故事, tell China's story.
All that Xinjiang nonsense with the ghoulies and things and the shills that we constantly talk about.
Yeah, propaganda. There's stuff in here, right? It's much, 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 much more nefarious than that. Obviously, we show you the fun stuff to poke fun, but Beijing uses false or biased information to promote positive views of the PRC and the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP. I'm glad the State Department used the correct terminology.
Exactly,
That's nice. At the same time, the PRC suppresses critical information that contradicts its desired narratives on issues such as Taiwan, human rights practices, South China Sea, domestic economy, international economic engagement, and more broadly, the PRC seeks to cultivate and uphold a global incentive structure that encourages foreign governments, and listen to this, elites and journalists and civil society to accept its preferred narratives and avoid criticizing its conduct.
Yes.
And there's a fact sheet on this, and there's also the official thing. Highly recommend you go read this because it's finally, people like us have been vindicated now.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about that Dashboard Confessional song.
Sure.
You definitely want to read this because it talks about the overt and covert influence over different content and platforms. Yes. And we are definitely at the forefront of this kind of stuff. Like we are targeted.
We've been under attack for years by this, nonsense. All these smear campaigns against us and so on.
Yes. Yeah. So it also goes into constraints on global freedom of expression, which again, no person on U.S. soil, in my opinion, I can't speak for other countries, but I think that no person on U.S. soil should have their First Amendment ever trampled on by a foreign government. Sure. That's outlandish, and that is unacceptable.
It happens, though.
But it cannot. It cannot happen. So at least we have public acknowledgement of the State Department, which is cool. On issues it deems sensitive, the PRC has employed online and real-world intimidation to silence dissent and encourage self-censorship. Yep. And that's to anyone talking about this stuff. We're not just talking about Chinese dissidents anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone that's talking about China, they will use methods like cutting off income sources and many things that we could delve into in much deeper.
Oh, yeah, they've gone after our families. They've gone after us.
Yes.
It's real because we've lived it.
Yes, they have it in many languages. This is a very important report, probably one of the most important reports I've seen come out of the U.S. government. So it's really, really cool to see some acknowledgement. Go check it out. I have listed all of our sources today in the description below. Yep. Go read those after the show.
Excellent. So what's up with the China Construction Bank?
So we got some inside info, which is kind of cool. We'll say with who.
Yeah.
But there is something up with the banks in China. This is one of those things that I haven't seen any news about because this is a personal anecdote, but this person did some due diligence and went to go check.
Right.
Now, he is in an unnamed place, right, in China. And he could be a Chinese, he could be a Russian, he could be anyone.
Yeah,
right?
You never know.
But what I will say is that he does know a lot of people that are foreigners in China, right? And what happened is they're having trouble opening any new bank accounts, which is a bit weird, right? Yeah. You'd think you would want people to be opening bank accounts to keep capital flight from happening, right? Sure. Start a checking account for money in China. The banks are citing counter fraud measures as the reason that they can't open an account, right? They've tried big banks, including the Bank of China, and they're all being told the same thing. This is not some little thing. And he said this just blows his mind because China can't even provide the most basic of functions right now, like opening checking accounts. So something's going on there.
To foreigners, right?
It could be to everyone.
Could be
to everyone. It's just it's a problem right now.
There've been a lot of issues with banks.
And I will quote, I know both a Westerner and a Chinese local, a Chinese citizen that tried to open the bank account, and they could not.
Interesting.
So this is not just foreigners.
Well, look, it's weird because when it comes to the Chinese banks, these different rules seem to just happen without any announcement. Yep. And it happened to us, like when, you used to be able to get US dollars and then all of a sudden you couldn't change your money to US dollars anymore. You didn't tell anyone. No. You just go in there and you're like, hey, I'd like to change, whatever Chinese money to US dollars. Like, sorry, foreigners can't do that anymore. Yes. That's just like, it's very frustrating. And people are starting to really lose like confidence in the banks there. I got to say, you see all these protests all the time. People can't get their money out. The banks are using stalling tactics to prevent people from
those protests.
Yeah. They use stalling tactics so that people can't withdraw money. Have you seen people are like on waiting lists to go in to have an appointment to try and draw money, and then they can't, you know, things like that. It's getting pretty desperate.
It is. Yeah, it's pretty wild. There's people outside of all these Henan banks that they're not getting their loans. People are just losing money left and right. And there's a lot of speculation about what's going to happen with the property collapse because it is underway right now. It's Zhengzhai collapsing, the property bubble. There's another thing I wanted you guys to check out. There's a really cool article I found.
Okay.
And basically, there is a huge wave of fraudulent U.S. trademark filings, which are likely caused by Chinese government payments. You know what's happening? They're getting, the Chinese government looks to be paying people in China to open up nonsense copyrights, right, in the U.S., right? U.S. trademarks.
Yeah.
And they're paying them like upwards of like $500 for each one. Right. Yeah. So people are earning salaries in China opening these nonsense, you know, U.S.
I mean, it makes sense. It's because then, just like with Huawei has the most patents or whatever, you just do it and then you can say, we have the most trademarks, the most, you know.
It's also, it looks to be, well, at least, you know, the experts in this blog or whatever, it's saying how it undermines the entire system.
Right.
And, you know, anything that you can do, remember we talked about dual purpose, right?
Yeah.
Anything that you can do to bolster your state company to be like, we have the most patents, like you said, right? Or the most research papers. Remember those fake research papers?
Fake research, well, we have the most
copyrights, whatever, most copyrights. But you also have the situation where how can we chip away at this institutionalized system that's been around for hundreds of years, that the world relies on? How can we cheapen this and ruin it?
Not only that, but they can also use it to do like troll, you know, copyright claims.
All kinds of stuff.
You know, trademark infringement.
I shouldn't have said dual purpose. I should have said 5-10 purpose.
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
Like
it's got a lot of purposes,
So it's
when China says dual purpose, they mean the bad purpose, not the good one, you know?
Yes. Yeah, the bad purpose.
The military or the, you know, whatever version. That's what they're actually talking about.
Yes.
You know, here's a gun. It's dual purpose. It can be used for defense or it can be used for like assaulting and attacking and invading. That's the purpose we want it for.
Yes.
You know? So this guy's just painting the pig black so he can sell it for a lot more at market. Let's move on to some more hammy humor. Okay.
Wow, they're going for it, aren't they? Some of his clothes were thrown out the window. A lot of them were cut up. Some of them were burned.
She was too crazy.
She lunged at him with a knife.
She was in this jealous rage. If you don't go home now, I'm going to walk out into traffic and kill myself.
When I take a breath, you fill up my life.